Have you ever wondered what it would be like to lose your reflection, to have it taken away from you? Today, we delve into the chilling tale, A Place Without Mirrors. In this story, the absence of mirrors hides a terrifying secret that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The first thing Emily noticed about the house was its lack of mirrors. It wasn't something she realized immediately. The stark, ivy-covered mansion that sat at the edge of the dense forest had too many other peculiarities to draw her attention. Its crooked shutters, its doors that seemed slightly too tall, and the odd, echoing silence that hung in the air like a shroud. But as the days stretched into weeks, Emily began to feel the absence gnawing at her. She had come to the estate to catalog the belongings of her estranged great-aunt Margaret, who had passed away under mysterious circumstances. The locals whispered about Margaret's reclusive tendencies, her refusal to leave the house in her final years. Emily brushed it off as small-town gossip. She wasn't superstitious and, frankly, had little patience for rumors. Still, something about the house felt off. At first, Emily assumed the missing mirrors were merely a stylistic choice. Maybe her great-aunt disliked them or had sold them off over the years. But the longer she stayed, the more Emily's unease grew. There were no reflective surfaces anywhere, no polished metal, no glass that shone back her image. Even the windows, though grimy, absorbed rather than reflected the dim light of the overcast skies. She thought about buying a small mirror from town, but something held her back. Perhaps it was the oppressive atmosphere of the house, the way it seemed to breathe in her presence. Or maybe it was the whispers she sometimes thought she heard late at night, soft as leaves brushing against stone. The whispers became harder to ignore. Days passed, and Emily's thoughts began to unravel. She started to feel disoriented, her sense of self slipping away. Without her reflection, she caught herself forgetting small details about her appearance, the curve of her smile, the arch of her brows. Her memory became unreliable, and she avoided looking too long at shadows, afraid she might see something she shouldn't. One evening, Emily ventured into the attic, searching for family heirlooms to appraise. The space was cluttered with dusty trunks and forgotten relics. As she sifted through the artifacts, she found a tarnished hand mirror wrapped in a moth-eaten velvet cloth. Her heart quickened. The glass was cloudy, but it was a mirror nonetheless. She lifted it to her face, eager to see her reflection after so many weeks without one. She saw nothing. The glass stared back, blank and empty. No matter how she turned or adjusted the angle, her face refused to appear. Instead, the mirror seemed to ripple, its surface shifting like water disturbed by an unseen hand. Emily dropped it, her breath caught in her throat. The mirror hit the floor with a dull thud, the glass miraculously unbroken. She fled the attic, leaving the strange object behind. After that night, the house seemed to change. The whispers grew louder, coalescing into fragmented words she couldn't quite understand. Shadows moved where no light should have cast them. The walls themselves seemed to lean closer, the corridors stretching impossibly long when she wasn't paying attention. And the worst part was the sensation, the unshakable feeling that she was being watched. Emily tried to leave. She packed her bags and made for the front door, but when she stepped outside, she found herself standing not in the driveway, but back in the foyer. She tried again and again, each time with the same result. The house would not let her go. Desperate, she returned to the attic, determined to confront whatever force had trapped her. The hand mirror was still there, lying in the same spot she had left it. This time, she forced herself to hold it steady, to look deeper into the shifting surface. The mirror's depths swirled, shapes emerging like figures glimpsed through heavy fog. Slowly, she began to discern faces. Not her own, but dozens, hundreds. They were pale and indistinct, their eyes wide with terror, their mouths open in silent screams. Emily's stomach churned as she realized she recognized some of them. Old photographs of family members she'd seen in the house's albums. Her great-aunt Margaret, her own mother. Her chest tightened as a sickening thought took hold. Were these reflections all that remained of them? She dropped the mirror again, stumbling back. The whispers surged, a cacophony of pleading voices crying out at once. "Find us! Set us free!" The house seemed to pulse around her, the air thick and heavy. Emily staggered toward the nearest window, only to find her reflection staring back at her from the glass. But it wasn't right. The reflection's movements lagged, its expression strained as though it were fighting against unseen restraints. "Who are you?" Emily whispered. Her reflection's lips twisted into a cruel smile. "You," it said, though no sound emerged. Emily's chest tightened. She turned away from the window, only to find her reflection staring back at her from every surface, whether it could logically hold a reflection or not. The walls, the floors, the ceiling, all of them held fragments of her image, each moving out of sync with her own body. Some looked frightened, others grinned with malice, and some seemed to cry, reaching out desperately as if begging her for something she couldn't give. Realization dawned. The mirrors hadn't been absent from the house. They had been hidden, their glass turned inward, trapping those who dared to gaze into them. Her great aunt had tried to escape by removing the mirrors, but it hadn't been enough. And now Emily was ensnared in the same web. The whispers turned into a roar as the reflections began to climb out, their hands clawing at the edges of their prison. Emily screamed as she felt their cold fingers grasp her, pulling her into the shifting, swirling void. When silence fell, the house stood as it always had, solemn and unyielding. The mirrors remained hidden, their surfaces dark and unreflective. Somewhere within them, Emily's face joined the countless others, trapped for eternity in a place without mirrors. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more spooky stories and give this video a like. Also, don't forget to check the link in the description below for access to the full book of short stories. Thanks for listening.